Welcome to the Zoning Board of Appeals public hearing, January 28th, 2021. And can I have a motion to open the hearing?
So moved.
And seconded? Okay, all in favor of opening the hearing?
Aye.
Aye.
For the benefit of attendees, we have 3 adjournments. Case number 3087, 71 Walnut Street is adjourned and will not be heard this evening. Case number 3097, 4 Fountains is adjourned and will not be heard this evening. And case number 3099, 1384 Meadow Lane is adjourned and will not be heard this evening. So if you are standing by for either of those 3 applications, there will not be a public hearing with respect to either of them. And then we have 5 decisions that were prepared and ready to be voted on. The first decision is case number 3089, Meadowmere Partners, LLC, 66 Meadowmere Lane. Can I have a motion to approve the decision as written?
So moved. To accept the decision as written.
I'll second.
Okay, and Dan, are you in favor of the decision as written for case number 3089, Meadowmere Partners, 66 Meadowmere Lane?
Yeah.
And Kevin?
Yeah. Yep.
Julia?
Yes.
And Susan?
Yes.
And I am a yes, so that's unanimous to approve the decision as written for case number 3089. Case number 3085, 131 Flying Point Realty LLC, 131 Flying Point Road. Can I have a motion to accept the decision as written?
There's a mistake in the written decision where they had 665 feet. We're supposed to say 65 feet. That should be corrected.
That was corrected and recirculated maybe an hour ago. I apologize for the delay. I was out of the office most of today, so.
I must have read the earlier one. So, okay, great. So
Do we have a motion to accept that as written now?
Yes, I move we accept this as it's written now.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor of accepting case number 3085, the decision as written?
Aye.
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 And aye, so that's unanimous in favor of the decision as written for case number 3085. Case number 3093, 56 Halsey Neck Lane. Can I have a motion to accept the decision as written?
I so move that we accept this decision as written.
I'll second.
And all in favor, Julia
I'm in favor.
and Susan,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
and Kevin?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well, so that's unanimous in favor of the decision as written for case number 3093, 56 Halsey Neck Lane. Case number 3094, 980 Meadow Lane Trust, 980 Meadow Lane. Can I have a motion to accept this decision as written?
I move we accept this decision as written.
Second.
And all in favor, Susan
Aye.
and Julia,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
and Kevin?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well, so we accept case number 3094, 980 Meadow Lane Trust as written unanimously. And case number 3094, Alexander Wolf, 35 Cooper Street. Can I have a motion to accept this decision as written?
I move we
It's a
accept.
3095.
I'm sorry, case number 3095, Alexander Wolf, 35 Cooper Street. Can I have a motion to accept this decision as written?
Accept this decision as written.
And
Second.
do we have a second on that?
Yeah, I seconded it.
Oh, sorry, you broke up. And Julia, are you in favor?
Yes.
and Susan,
Aye.
and Kevin,
Aye.
and Dan,
Aye.
and I am aye. So that's unanimous to accept the decision as written for case number 3095 Alexander Wolf, 35 Cooper Street. So we can move on to pending cases. David, did you circulate the letter with respect to 365 and 385 South Main?
Yes, I just did moments ago.
Okay, we have a letter proposed to be sent to the building department with respect to 365 and 385 South Main Street, but would not send it without approval from the board. David, do you want to read the letter in case
Yes,
any board member has not received
letter.
it?
And just, I don't know if the board saw the letter from the applicant, but this matter has been withdrawn. So this letter is a letter from the board to the building department, purely, it's not binding on the building inspector or on the applicant, as that application has been withdrawn. But yeah, I can read that aloud if you'd like. Dear Chris, we are writing in regard to the, hold on, pull it wrong. We are writing in regard to the information, materials, case law, testimony, and deliberations by the board regarding the matter of the application of the Elizabeth Rohatton Trust, application number 3079. The applicant requested area variances for 2 properties and the opinion on the board that these properties had not merged. It is the view of counsel for the board, and it is the view of the board that the properties had and continue to be merged, and that variance relief would be necessary to allow for the lots to be unmerged. The board found out that you had issued certificates of occupancy to 2 different entities for the buildings located on the merged property. It is also the board's opinion that the issuance of those certificates of occupancy is not sufficient to unmerge the lots which merge by operation of law pursuant to section 116-19 P4 of the Southampton Village Code. And that is all.
So that would be addressed to who?
To, if you'd like to, that would be addressed to the building inspector, to Mr. Chris Talbot. And again, it is non-binding.
Is Mr. Talbot here this evening? And I'm asking because we had asked for him to please come speak to us after the, at the work session last week.
Right. He is not, as far as I can tell, but Linda Riley and John Bennett both have their hands up. Would you like to hear from them?
Well, first I'd like to hear from the board with respect to the letter, if we could have a discussion about it.
Well, I wanted to talk with Chris. I wanted to get his point of view on it and for the, why he just, did not think that the pieces of property have merged. And he had like 3 or 4 good reasons for his decision. One, he says that they had separate C of Os, that there was an earlier subdivision that was given to the property by history, that they've always had single and separate tax bills. And I think there was a 4th point, maybe if we hear from Chris, we can explain it all, but those were his reasonings, that he felt that the property had not co-joined.
So so you did have a conversation, where was that, in his office, Dan?
Yeah, in the building department. He went through the whole history of the property all the way back to the 50s. And he also said that he was never asked to make a determination. He thinks that maybe when Linda Riley first came in, he was not really given good advice. She was not given good advice by the building department. That might have been an error on the building department's side as far as, approaching him to make a determination. He was never approached to make the determination until now.
Did he have any opinion as to why the application was before us since June, and why we had 5 work sessions and 5?
I didn't go into the history of that. I just sort of wanted to know his reasoning for, his decision, which were the points I just discussed. I didn't really go into it. He just feels that it was a mistake by the building department that it even came to our board. I don't know if in other words, that was not his decision in the original, in the talk with Linda O'Reilly. That was maybe another staff member in the building department. So he might not have really had wind of it.
Really?
That's speculation, but that's, I don't think he was the one that had talked to Linda originally.
Well, that's a building department situation. It's put us in a very bad situation.
Jen, I really appreciate you going to talk with him, but I very much, when we met last week, Mark was really clear that he wanted the whole conversation to be able to be out in the open and in public. And I really thought Mr. Talbot would come to tonight's meeting.
Yeah,
And that has not happened. I have to say, I'm disappointed by that.
Let me put my 2 cents in. I am firmly against this letter being sent. Last meeting we had, we were told by our attorney that it's the judgment of the building inspector is final. Judgment is final, let it be.
David, could you respond to that? Do you think that the judgment of the building inspector is final?
It's final until somebody appeals it. Then you have the appellate jurisdiction to rule on it, but you do not have first instance ability to make a decision on the building code. That is his decision, and then it would have to be appealed to you to render a binding decision. That's why I put the caveat on the letter that anything in there is not binding and, on either the building department or on any future applicant.
No, we heard that, David. But you're saying something different from what Kevin is saying, so I just wanted to clarify.
It would have to be appealed to this board.
And then if it's appealed to the board, who has the final decision?
Then the board makes the decision.
Okay, Kevin, do you hear the distinction that's being drawn? So let me just clarify for Kevin's.
I'm well aware of that distinction. We've had appeals to us before from the building inspector's decision. This is not new ground.
Right, but if it's appealed to us, we have the final decision.
That's right.
Okay.
I'm saying we've had cases appealed to us before from the building inspector's decision, and we've ruled on them. But for the time being, it's up to the building inspector. I'm happy with that, because I think he's made the right decision.
So you don't think the lots have merged?
No. And the fact that we've had this thing for 5 months, that's immaterial. We're here anyway. That's our job. So whether we have it for 5 months or 5 minutes or 5 years doesn't make any
No, Kevin, don't misunderstand. My point was, if Chris had thought that it wasn't supposed to be before us, he had 5 or 6 months to say something. That was my curiosity.
He didn't know about it.
I'm sorry?
Third, he didn't know about it.
He didn't know the case was before us?
No,
He might not have been following
Right.
it. I don't know. I didn't go into that with Chris.
he didn't speak to Chris.
Okay, I'm just expressing my surprise that the senior building inspector wouldn't know that a case was before us since June of 2020 after so many work sessions. It's just my surprise. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he really didn't know about it.
I'm sure he knew about it, but I don't know his reasoning for, because nobody came to him to ask him to make a determination. So, I don't know what position that put him in,
Isn't it,
I don't know if he came to us and said, look, you don't have anything to decide upon because nobody asked me to make a decision on it. This whole case is so convoluted and mixed up, I'm just ready to let it go and let it take its course,
I'm down.
Susan, you're on mute.
So Dan, are you not in favor of sending the letter?
I think it's premature to send the letter. I think that, he makes his determination, and then if somebody appeals the termination, it'll come to us, and then we would hear the case.
well, has he or has he not made a determination? Do you know, Dan? You talked to him.
He issued certificates of
I-
occupancy.
I got yes, he issued two certificates of occupancy, and then he told me that they were two separate pieces of property. I don't know if that's written down somewhere, but he verbally told me that.
It is written down. When did you talk to him?
What's today, Thursday? It was either like last Friday or this past Monday. I was in the building department, so I wanted his opinion, and I told him the board was interested in it. So I thought that Mark was inviting him, or somebody was inviting him to the meeting. I didn't say come to the meeting. I thought that somebody else was handling that.
Well, it was something that we all talked about. We talked about it at the meeting. We definitely recorded that was our interest.
It would be nice if he was here and was able to explain it to everybody,
Yeah,
He
it would.
explains it to me, I'm explaining it to you. It gets to be second and third hand again,
Right.
It's all case has been that way.
Respectfully too, though, this application has been withdrawn. He'd be, I think as Dan is saying, it would be premature. It may be premature, or this board doesn't really have the jurisdiction to require him to appear and give an opinion on a matter that is not pending before the board anymore.
Yeah, David.
I'll
think
say
the
again
point
what I
was the
said last week. I
invitation
just think
was
out
made
of
prior.
professional courtesy between our two areas, that it would have been the right thing to do. There was certainly a vibrant discussion last week about this matter. So it may not have been a jurisdiction, but I think as a courtesy, it would have been the very least that we should have been able to ask.
Do you wish to hear from the attendees on this matter, or?
Not at this point, and possibly not at all, but I'd like to finish the discussion among the board members.
Okay. There is one comment. Would you like to hear the comment that was written in Q&A, or would you like me not to say that?
We can all read it, and you don't have to say it.
Okay.
Then
Okay.
the application is withdrawn. I don't know why we would be listening to them personally. They've made their move.
So right now, I mean, listen, do we want to discuss it some more, or do we want to vote on whether or not to send the letter?
I'd like to send the letter because I feel that we really don't have all the information, and that the way this has been timed and handled is unfortunate, to say the least, for those of us who sit on the board in good faith.
I think the letter could be written differently. I think that we should have formal request that maybe if Chris doesn't want to come before the board, that he at least sends the board a letter explaining his determination. So all the points are written down.
Well, he can do that in reply, but I believe we can do whatever we feel is necessary.
The point of the letter, Dan, just, it's a fairly complicated interpretation of the village zoning code. And I was relying upon council and frankly, the other board members to make that interpretation. And we had plenty of time to deliberate, and we were deliberating it. So it's right now just a matter of whether we want to send a letter to the building inspector expressing the views that we developed over the past several months when this was before us.
And I know as you say, the matter of courtesy, there's no obligation for Mr. Talbot to respond no legal obligation that I can think of for him to respond in any way to your request on this matter now that it's not in front of the board anymore.
Fine, so I think we should say what we have to say, and that's all we can do for now.
Please make sure you don't put my name on that letter.
Yeah, I'm not in agreement with sending that particular letter.
Okay. Julia, are you in favor of sending the letter?
I am.
Susan, are you in favor of sending the letter? Okay, I am the third vote in favor of sending the letter. Is that enough, David, that we have a majority of the board who wants to send the letter?
Yes.
Okay, could you please have it delivered tomorrow morning?
Yes, I can have that delivered tomorrow morning.
Fantastic. Okay, can we move on to the next case then, which is case number 3096. Andrew Spreitzer, I think, is the first case that has not been adjourned in our pending cases.
So this, but Mark, this is the case that at our work session, when a member of the public inquired about the case, we let them know that it had to be re-noticed and would not be part of the public session. And I understand that that has not happened. And I feel an obligation to make clear that I said on the tape that that was correct. We were not discussing this case. We were not going to be presenting it this month. And I did bring it to Jolie's attention before the meeting this evening and had hoped that Aunt might be here so that she could help jog my memory about who the member of the public was, but she's not able to be, she's not with us tonight.
Well, is it okay if then we'll keep it open for all purposes at any rate?
Is there anyone waiting to talk?
Jolie, is the applicant here?
Yes, one moment.
It was not the applicant who I sent away, though.
Yes, so they'll have a chance at the next public hearing to
Okay.
weigh in.
The applicant's in.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
You can, okay.
Who's speaking?
This is Linda Spreitzer. Can you see me?
Now we
The
can.
applicant?
Sorry, I'm not good at that sort of thing, sorry. Yes, I was listening to your comments. I'm not sure exactly what you meant by all of them. We did go to the building department and got their approval to go forward if we didn't make any changes to the requests that we made. So I'm feeling that we were supposed to be able to come to you today to review those. Is that not right?
I
No,
think that
correct.
is
You're
probably
right.
right, but I misspoke. At our last work session, there was a member of the public who came to that meeting. And at that time, my understanding, along with others, was that it was going to have to be renoticed. I guess it doesn't have to be, but somebody came to speak about it. And we said, and it was just happenstance that I was the one who was speaking to them. But I just wanted to make sure that I didn't deny somebody the opportunity to speak about your application if they wanted it.
Okay, so what we've done, and maybe you can confirm that, is we've taken the requests that we had originally put together and reviewed those requests and altered them, diminished them significantly, and resubmitted to you. So we haven't changed our requests or added anything new. We've simply modified what was already on the table. I think the biggest issue with the problems of the last time was the question of a pool, which we've completely eliminated. So that's no longer on the table. The other things are pretty simple. There's starting with the building envelope. We gave you a new survey that shows the exact building envelope so that you can see what we're proposing, what we're asking for. You'll see that the first thing is the porch, which we had previously asked for. We've minimized it both in length from 10 feet down to 8, as width 10 feet to 8, and length. So what we're left asking for is it's 3 inches on one side and 2 feet 5 inches on the other.
I don't see where you've given us the numbers that we need. For instance, you said you've made the porch smaller in both width and length,
Right.
bringing the variance request to a minimum. What does that mean to us? I need numbers.
What it means is if you look on the building, if you look on.
I want, it's our assumption that you spelled this out if you're changing your plan so that we're not spending 3 hours with a magnifying glass. What are the actual dimensions of the variances that you were asking for? Do you have that?
Yes, so I'm asking for, you'll see there's 24 foot 9 inches on one side of the porch and 22 feet 1 inch on the other side of the porch.
Where will I see that in your written submission, not on the plan?
It's the first thing. It says 3 inches outside of the envelope on the north end and 2 foot 5 inches outside of the envelope on the south end.
I don't see it. Where are we? I really don't see that.
Do you see the, do you see that the house is not exactly parallel to the street? And so if we have a 25-foot setback, it's 24 foot 9 inches on one end and 22 foot 1 inch on the other end. The other way to look at that is to say it's 3 inches on the north end and 2 foot 5 inches on the south end. Does that make more sense? It's not, because the house wasn't built parallel to the street, and it's a 25-foot setback. I think, Susan, you're talking, but I can't hear you.
You're muted, Susan.
I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
where in your submission
Mm-hmm.
is this information presented specifically with numbers?
I think it is. If you look at if you look at the page that we've given you, those two things say we're asking for a variance of 3 inches on one end of the porch and 2 foot 5 inches on the other end of the porch, because the porch is not directly parallel to the street, because the street isn't parallel to the existing house.
I honestly, I have 2 sheets of paper, one from January 14th, written in writing, and one and a rendering with no numbers on it from January 13th. Is that your newest submission?
Do you have this?
I am not going to spend my evening parsing this out. I'm asking you in writing. That's what happens in these submissions. You write down what you're asking for in very specific ways, which is, I'm not going to go and look. That's not my job. I'm sorry.
I thought we did that. I'm not an architect. I
No,
thought
I'm
we-
not one either, but I really would appreciate it if we had an orderly presentation. And I don't honestly feel that I have that in front of me. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, just to clarify, so initially we received a list of the variance relief requested, and what we
Correct.
and it said 296 square foot sheds to a northern rear yard setback of 6 feet where 10 feet is required, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now we understand that that changed and reduced, but
Yes.
we need that description written again and spelled out so that we have a list again, an itemized list of the relief being requested. What we have now essentially is a revised survey.
Right.
We're looking for a document to accompany the survey that sets forth the relief being requested.
Okay, I guess we sent you a letter and it was spelled out, I thought, in that letter, but if that's not clear, the building department, we gave them a letter, a cover letter that was submitted.
Yeah, no, we have that. For instance, you say we have made the porch smaller in both width and length, bringing the variance request to a minimum,
Right?
which is, that's
But then it goes on and says specifically what that is.
not in the letter. So we would want to know what relief you are requesting for the porch. We understand that you brought the variance request to a minimum, but what is the minimum variance relief that you're requesting?
Okay, so, so the answer to that, I have to put in writing, you can't, it's 3 inches on one side and 2 feet, 5 inches on the other side.
Yeah, that's what Susan's referring to. Yes, can we connect the dots? But we need a written record of what your relief requested
Okay,
is. But we can still go on. I mean, it's just
Okay.
that would be helpful for the improvement record.
I have a question, Mark. It looks like what you're doing is reducing the garage from a 10-foot extension to a 5-foot extension, correct?
correct?
Which then puts the garage over 25 feet from the front yard. So would you need a variance for that then? You would be within your setback, correct?
It is on one side and not on the other because of the same issue with the fact that the house isn't parallel to the street. So
Well, it
I'm
was
only
8,
asking.
and you took 5 feet away, that's going to be 25.8.
If
Right,
if I may, it meets the front yard. It's only the rear yard. Sorry, since it's a corner lot, it has 2 rear yards. So it is the rear yard that the garage addition requires relief from, not the front yard anymore.
That, right, that's, she didn't
Yeah.
write that.
It's
Yep.
only the front yard.
David, the surveyor is showing that the front yard extension is in the front yard setback.
Not on the garage.
There's a small piece that's not. You're right. It's not the whole garage. If we only do 5 feet, you can see that it's that one tiny little section that's not within the current building envelope.
But that's only in the side yard. If the 25-foot front yard setback, that the 5-foot garage extension is not encroaching into.
Right.
The measurement shown on the survey is 25 foot 8 inches to the garage, which would be beyond the setback. It's only the northern rear yard that it still needs relief from.
Correct.
What is that northern rear yard? Supposed to be 20 feet?
Is it an accessory front yard setback?
It's just the building.
No, because the garage is attached, so
attached.
it's part of the house.
Right. It's just the building envelope.
So what is the rear yard setback, David? Is it 20 feet?
No, I believe it's greater than that.
The rear yards are, it's 20 feet.
So we
Yes,
have two rear yards, you're saying, correct?
Right, and we have 2 rear yards. They're both 20 feet, and we're not asking for anything there.
But the 17'8" is what the measurement is to the corner of the garage if the garage is out 10 feet. If the garage is only out 8 feet, that 17'8" is going to be a different measurement. So we don't know what the new request is going to be until somebody recalculates that.
well, you're talking for the front of the garage?
The front corner of the garage to the rear property line originally would look like it was 17'8". But they cut 5 feet off for the front of the garage. They're moving it back, which is going to change that 17'8" dimension because.
We're not moving the garage back. We're moving the garage forward.
Yeah, but you took 5, you were moving it forward 10 feet. Now you're only moving it forward 5 feet.
Correct.
All right, but the side, the rear or side yard measurement changes when you do that. We don't
Right, and
have
that is shown as 18 feet.
Correct.
That's shown on 18 feet on the survey that I have.
Right.
Okay, I don't
So
have
that
that.
part
survey then. So maybe that is
within the
correct.
building envelope.
No, I think, Dan, I think you're looking at the submission from January 11th.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I got it. All right,
And
so
you
they
should be
did make
looking at
that
the submission
correct.
from January 14th.
Right, so the request for the relief, it's 18 feet. What is the setback requirement is it supposed to be 20 feet?
Let me see here.
It's 20.
Yes, 20.
All right, so they're asking for 2 feet of relief there.
Correct.
And you're asking for a few inches on the front porch.
Correct.
And you went from 2 sheds to 1 shed and you made the shed narrower.
And honestly, if we were given the garage, having discussed this with other, as we've tried to design this and talk to architects, we're going to eliminate the sheds, both of them, any of them, all of them. If we can get the garage, those 5 feet of garage, additional garage.
I wouldn't have a problem with the 5 feet of the garage.
Okay.
Yeah, my only concern right now, Dan, is what Susan started to discuss is I can't follow what the relief requested actually is. I can go through this with everybody and understand it, but for the record, I don't see a statement as to the relief being requested. And even on the survey.
It's written up better.
Yes.
And on the survey, I'm not seeing that the dimensions of relief being requested. Does that make sense?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I mean, even on the survey, it doesn't really show how much is within the zoning guidelines and how much relief is being requested. So a lot of this is documentation.
Okay, my sense is that what you're saying is that you don't have a problem so much with what we're asking, but the way in which we've gone about doing it. I'm not a professional, so if I resubmit the written document, then you would have something to approve. Is that what you're?
Yeah,
Is that?
And if your surveyor provided more information on the survey to show the variance relief being requested, perhaps with a hatched line. But again, this is Dan and I speaking. The rest of the board, needs to weigh in. I'm with Dan in that I don't think I have a problem with the porch, or perhaps with the garage, subject to seeing the dimensions. Especially, I would have had a problem with the shed, but if you're going to remove that, it's
Right.
It's great.
I agree with that. The shed was giving me a little bit of a problem also.
Okay. I certainly could rewrite something for your clarification so that you have something to approve if you feel that you are in a position to be able to indicate whether or not you would be approving. Can you approve without my resubmitting something? Can you?
No, and we wouldn't approve anything tonight anyway. We'd be holding this over for all purposes because of the reasons that Julia was explaining, that there was somebody who wanted to speak to this, but we told them it had been adjourned. So we're going to hold this over for the next meeting anyway, but you would have the time then to improve the submission and clarify the submission.
So, Mark, if she has the information to us by the work session, we can have a decision for her at the next meeting, correct?
We need to make sure that the neighbors are given an opportunity to review the revised submission and provide any.
And how do I go about doing that? Just to clarify.
Well, let's hear from Julia. Do you have any other questions, or Susan or Kevin?
No, I think if they remove those two sheds, that's certainly an improvement.
Okay.
And so I would need to see in written fashion, in a step-by-step way, what is the setback? What is the relief you're seeking? What are the dimensions of whatever it is, the porch? And I think, I'm not positive. I mean, I don't know what the setback is. It's a small lot and there's some weird rules about it.
I just pulled up the code. It is 25 feet
Right.
for a lot of less than 12,500.
So how's that going? And, you know, it just you need to really have someone look at it and write it.
Their survey does show the envelope at 25 feet.
Right.
Oh. But-
It's there. It's just that it's not
There's so
clear for
much,
you.
there's so many numbers,
In
it's
order
hard to
for
see,
us
but
to
it is
understand,
there.
and also to be able to vote on this, we need to have a clear-cut understanding of what you're asking for in specific terms. That's all.
So just to be clear, I'm only going to ask for those two things, the porch and the garage extension.
Yes.
Just those two.
Whatever
things.
it is that you want to do is what needs to go on the
All right.
paper. I don't want to tell you what to do.
No, that's okay. And then if there's a neighbor or someone who needs to review that, that's done on your end.
It's done at the next public hearing.
Right, okay.
Yeah, you don't, right.
I don't have any
We handle
responsibility
it.
for that. Okay. And when would that meeting be?
David, when is that in February?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I can look it up.
The
It's
fourth
okay.
Thursday?
That'll be the 25th.
Okay.
25th
That's the
of
public
February.
hearing.
Yes,
And the work
There's a work
session is the
session.
16th.
16.
16th, yes. 16th.
So if you can get those facts and figures into us for the work session, that would be helpful.
That's,
The deadline for that is the 12th at noon.
okay. I appreciate your input and I'll make the necessary, paperwork to put it together to you for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to move on to case number 3098, Apogee Building Company LLC, 10 Center Street. I'm sorry, we should go back. Jolie, is there anybody from the neighborhood who wanted to speak on, I shouldn't have gone so fast, who wanted to speak on 3096?
I don't believe so. The next hand up is Kevin Wells, which I believe is for the next application. But
Okay.
did we, oh wait, hold on, let me just, there's a, okay, no, yeah, just Kevin Wells. And did you guys motion to adjourn that, or is that already adjourned?
So we're going to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll move we adjourn case 3096 to the February meeting.
For all purposes.
Well, second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Dan, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Okay, so we're going to move on to case number 3098, Apogee Building Company LLC, 10 Center Street. And Jolene,
Kevin Wells coming in.
certainly.
I'm sorry, there was just a little lapse there while I joined. I don't know if I missed anything.
We were waiting for you, Kevin. Go ahead.
Okay, so I did listen to the work session, and I definitely understand your concerns, but I was a little concerned that no one had mentioned at the first meeting. I was asked to provide a copy of the current variance that's in place, which I did. No one had mentioned it, so I'm not sure. I turned it in on time to the village. I don't know if you guys had that or not.
We have it.
Okay. So the board, when that variance was approved, basically took into consideration everything that is still applies to today. And basically they said that it is a corner lot. It is a non-conforming square footage. It's 16,000 square feet rather than 20,000 square feet. And they basically granted the variance to have a 5-foot setback. I'm sorry, a 15-foot setback off the southern property line with 40 feet of pool. So effectively what the current variance is for the property is a 200 square foot variance. I definitely want to work with you guys. And what I would propose is that if I could, instead of doing the 18 by 35, if I could do the 18 by 34 foot pool, that way it would be a 4-foot variance that I would need. And it would bring my variance from the current 200 square feet down to 72 square feet. The only person that this could impact would be Kevin Harrington, who owns the vacant lot to the south of me. That's the only other property that this particular property borders. I had a conversation with Kevin Harrington, and he does not have a problem with the variance being granted, even at the 5-foot variance. So I just wanted to bring that to light. Another few points that I want to make is 205 Corrigan, which is 2 properties to the north. Again, they're not a corner lot. They have 40-foot aggregate setbacks, so 20 on both sides for their pool. They just put in an 18 by 36. And because I have the corner lot, I have a 70-foot aggregate setback. So I'm really impacted by that. So again, I don't need an 18 by 36. But what I would say is if we could, come to an agreement where I knock down what I'm proposing from an 18 by 35 foot pool to an 18 by 34 foot pool, improving what's there from a 200 square foot variance to a 72 foot variance. And again, the position that I have is the only person that this could negatively impact would be Kevin Harrington, who, again, I had a conversation with. It's been posted, it's been mailed. He doesn't have a problem with it. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Did we discuss an 18 by 32?
Yes, you did. You did.
What happened to that?
I thought he said 34.
No, you said 18 by 32.
He
I'm
said-
asking, I was originally asking for an 18 by 35, but again, in the spirit of trying to come to an agreement, I would knock it down a foot and go to 18 by 34.
If you line that pool up with the back of the house, is what we were discussing at the work session, what does that make the pool?
I don't know. I have to, do you guys have the survey in front of you? I would just have to pull it up.
It was 18 by 32.
Yeah.
The back of the house, according to the survey, is 17.1 feet. The pool proposed at 18 by 30. 18 by 35 was at 15 feet.
Right. So that's basically, if it lines up with the back of the house, that would be 18 by 33.
You can swim in an 18 by 35, you can swim in an 18 by 32.
Absolutely. You know, but the problem is that, you know, because of that 50-foot front yard setback that I have from the corner, we really wanted to get a spa in the property, and we have already moved that in the pool. So when you factor the 10 feet of spa in the pool, and now we're 32 feet, I have 22 feet and then 8 feet on both sides of the spa. It just makes for a very small pool with the, you know, our desire to get the spa. And again, I'll go back to the only person that this could impact on the planet would be Kevin Harrington. And I will state on the record that I did speak with him and he does not have a problem with it. And again, I mean, it's just, I'm really being penalized here. I've already been penalized with the building design because of the 50-foot, the 2 front yard setbacks for the corner lot. And which I've worked with. I did not ask for a variance on the house whatsoever. I worked within the guidelines. But I really would like to have, you know, a pool that would be at least 18 by 34. And again, I am drastically improving the current variance that's in place that the board unanimously approved when they voted on it originally.
Kevin, let me just say this for you're not penalized in any way. Okay, those are the zoning codes. Those are the zoning laws. Okay, it's not a penalty. We didn't do anything. I mean, you bought the property knowing what the zoning code was.
I was understanding that because I bought the property and it was conveyed to me when I bought the property that because I had that current variance in place that would carry over. So I did not know that.
It doesn't carry over.
I didn't know that. Again, I did not know that.
But the idea that you're, you know, starting anew and building a brand new house, I mean, there were reasons why the board would grant a variance for a pool that was set behind a house. You're taking that house down entirely. There's nothing that you're inheriting as far as a variance goes. I understand, and I've listened to your argument, and it's creative, but it's not persuasive. I mean, you have
also you're putting your spa completely within in the interior of the pool. It doesn't have to be. It could be.
No, it can't. It has
to the left of the pool towards the patio.
I don't have any room then between, you know, to get out of the house, and then I won't have any room between the pool and the detached garage. So there is no room on the east or west of that pool to put that spa. So it's in the pool. I mean, if you, you know, look, if we can get it to where it's lined up with the setback of the house and it's, you know, 18 by 33, I'm good with that.
Fact of life that if you have a corner lot, there are certain circumstances that limit you.
I understand.
Julie, do you have any questions or?
Not at this time.
No, I think they can reconfigure the steps too if they want to swim laps.
So Dan, what it would be 18 by 32 if it lined up with the house?
Yeah, whatever that measurement is, it might be 32.3. I don't know. It's not calculated. You know, they're telling me, what is it, 33-foot pool? Is that what it would end up being?
Yes.
That's what I think.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, so we're going to line it. It's the pool that lines up, and then the coping still goes wherever the coping goes, another foot, but that's okay,
Correct.
right, Dan?
Yeah, that's within, I think the setback for hardscape is 10 feet. Is that correct?
Yeah,
I'm not sure what the code is on that.
David, I don't think that the coping inside of the setback?
No, the coping could be outside the setback.
Okay.
But I don't know if there's a distance from the property line that a coping, you know, if you put a patio at the end of the pool, if it's on grade, I don't know how far back that can go, if there's a code on that.
Okay, but Kevin, essentially, we're okay as long as the house and pool line up. So if that's 18 by whatever the length is.
Fair enough.
But we need you to resubmit a survey just so we know for documentation purposes what we're approving.
No problem.
Is that okay? Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. So can we adjourn this for, well, why don't we just adjourn it for written submission?
Does anybody else want in the audience on this?
Not on this matter, but we apparently someone in the public wanted to speak over the last matter, because it's come up again in this Q&A.
They didn't have their hand up, I don't believe, just John Bennett.
So Jolie, if you look in the Q&A, the last question,
It was John Bennett is what
Right.
all John Bennett. I don't think he was, oh, he was here to speak on Hildreth. Okay.
Yeah, he's the neighbor.
Well, it's been adjourned, so
Okay, we have it. So can we have a motion to adjourn? This number.
So I'm sorry,
Or
Mark,
you-
I would just, I would submit the new survey showing what the setback would be for a written decision, and when would that decision be made?
It will be at the next meeting. But so
Okay.
we're submitting a survey showing the pool aligned with the house.
We wouldn't be, you'd be closing it except for written submission, not adjourning it except for the written submission.
Okay, so do I have a motion to close case number 3098, Apogee Building Company, 10 Center Street, for only written submission?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Susan?
Susan, you're muted. You're still muted.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so case number 3098, Apogee Building is closed, pending written submissions. And we go to new cases. Case number 3100, Barbara Reuter and William Williams, 599 Meadow Lane.
I have Barbara Reuter and Jennifer Wicks in the attendees. Those are the only two left. Are both of those people here for this application? Raise your hand if you'd like to come in, please. Okay, Barbara Reuter is coming in.
Hello, I'm Barbara Reuter, and I added a photograph to your packet so that you could see the placement of the walkway along the wooden wall. There was some discussion last week as to where the 20 feet from the property line where the walkway would begin was placed relative to the end of the driveway and the wooden wall. And so I took a photograph, put some yellow tape across and put a rubber cone there so you can see where you would stand in the middle to begin walking on that walkway out towards the water. So I hope that that would show you where the placement would be relative to the 20-foot distance from the property line. You'll see there are pine trees and Leland cypress trees all along the top of that wooden wall.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, since this is the first time we're hearing the application, I think it would help for the applicant to describe it. And if they're not able to share a plan, I can put a plan up, just so the public and the board all know what's being proposed.
That'd be great, Chick.
Great. Thank you.
You're
So-
both welcome.
So we're looking at, it's a two-story house, and to the right in this is a wood wall. You can see the wood wall. And so we located the walkway 20 feet from the property line. It actually sits right next to a pine tree. And actually the placement has to do with the foliage as much as it does with how it would run out to the water. So that we don't have to remove any trees. We're actually only have to remove a piece of privet that sort of grew there between the pine tree, which is the biggest tree in that area, and one of the Leland cypress trees. So the idea is not to disturb any trees. These are 20-foot trees. They've been there a long time and should stay there for another long period. So I wanted you to know that was why we put it there. It made sense.
Is the aerial photograph visible now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so this measurement here is 20 feet from the property line.
Mm-hmm.
So the proposed catwalk is right in this area.
Right,
So it's
right.
between the trees here, coming off the wall,
Yes, comes off the
extending
wall.
north 20 feet off the property line,
Right.
avoiding these trees.
It avoids those trees. Yes, I don't want to hurt any foliage.
It's just west of those trees. So it's
Right.
in this alignment.
Exactly, exactly. And of course, by having it near the garage and at the end of the driveway, it's easy to get the kayak or a paddle board out of the garage and walk it out and get it into the water. So it's a sort of a practical placement as well as one that works in terms of the wooden wall being about, it's almost 4 feet high. And so the height of the walkways that we need, it just makes it all work, quite honestly. So that way we get the water access without traipsing through the wetlands. I mean, we've been in this house for over 20 years and we used to put the kayak in by dragging it over to Road A with a little rolly thing and taking it in the water that way. But, you know, it's gotten to be a little much. So rather than having to do that, we'd rather now have a walkway to give us direct access. The design of the walkway is standard. There are 8 similar walkways on Meadow Lane that go from either a house or a driveway or on the properties on our side of Meadow Lane that already exist. Most of them are the traditional 4-foot wide that we're talking about. Some of them are older and are not made of the new plastic that lets the light and air through for the foliage underneath. But that's what we're proposing.
Several just to the west right here. And those are even larger structures than what's proposed.
Yes, yes, well, exactly.
Do you want to explain the cross section at all? I
Well,
know-
the cross section we thought was a good idea because if you have a paddle board or your kite, it just gives you some room to maneuver when you get to the end. If you know what I mean? So we thought it was a nice thing to do. So while we were building it, we talked about just doing that, extending it so you can actually either store the paddle board there overnight. We're expecting to put these things in the garage, but having a place to put it as opposed to having it on, you know, these are only 4 feet wide, these catwalks. So you don't have a lot of room to maneuver. So that's why we thought that made sense. And then you just, you know, go down the step area into the water. We don't want a floating dock. We have no interest in docks. We're not putting real boats in here or dealing with jet skis, which we have we have too many of those already, if you ask me. So no, we're just doing a very simple walkway.
So there's a little detail on the first plan that shows a T at the end and steps down, and this
Right.
is all below mean low water, which is where I would prefer to see it. I had asked the question at the work session, and it was helpful to get that input because I did look further at the property and recognized that the orientation and location is fairly optimal. And you do have a little bit of an area of wetlands, but we're 4 feet above the wetlands with a through flow decking, and this will allow vegetation to grow. And based on the cross section, you've got a situation where there's kind of a berm here, and during certain tides or spring tides, you do get overwash, and this area is being supported as wetland vegetation. But having a catwalk to access the water without a float, as I had pointed out at the work session, it's a fixed pier. It's a minimized structure. It allows light penetration, and it is typical of other structures in that area. And certainly it's preferable to trampling the wetlands. So certainly the board should ask any questions, but I think that's a good summary of the project. And I do not have any further questions.
Thank you.
Chick, I thought that, with the vegetation, this was sort of a aesthetically more pleasing spot for this catwalk. It sort of would blend in with the surroundings better with that than sticking it in the middle of the property.
Yeah, you've got the other property just to the east that has more structure, but I do like the fact that this avoids the trees that are closer to that property line. So you're coming between these trees, avoiding these, and I think you're right, Dan. It'll blend in quite a bit better. And you've got the western part of the property that's left open without any other structures. So besides the convenience for the applicant of storing boats, in this part of the property, it really is a good location.
There is a member of the audience who'd like to come in and speak. Jennifer Wicks would like to come in. Could I bring her in?
Sure, certainly.
Hi, Jennifer. Yeah.
Okay, Jennifer, you've been promoted to panelist. Jennifer, you're in.
Okay. Hi. I was actually here to speak for Barbara, but she did very well herself, so that was mainly my purpose, but I couldn't get in. I actually physically raised my hand
Oh.
and then saw it at the bottom of the screen, so. But I thought Barbara actually did very well, so.
Jennifer, can you just clarify for the record your relationship to the property?
I was the agent for Barbara. I submitted the applications.
Got it.
Fairly common. I mean, we do these all the time.
Billy, is there anybody else from the audience who wishes to be heard?
No, that's it.
Okay, so do we want to make a motion to close this for all purposes?
Close it for decision.
To close it for decision?
I move we close this application for decision. Application number 3100.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, so it's
Mr.
unanimous.
Chairman, I assume that will be a favorable decision.
Yeah.
Hope
I
so.
would be happy to prepare that for the next meeting.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chip.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Very helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, can I have a motion to close the public hearing at this point?
Actually, Mark, weren't we supposed to talk about our checklist?
David,
Was
are
that
you
supposed to
ready
come to
talk
this meeting?
about that?
Well,
That'd
I
be
fixed,
wonderful.
I fixed the typo in it. So if the board's ready, I can send that to the, we can forward that to the building department to make it official.
That would be
I
good.
did review it, as I said I would, and I thought it was very good. It'll be very helpful for the applications that I'm involved with.
You need anything?
Yeah, I'm good with it.
That's fine.
I think it's a great step in the right direction, David. Thank you.
No problem.
So can I have a motion to close the public hearing January 28th, 2021 for all purposes?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.